Hey everyone, Eljay here, voice actor for the critically acclaimed pop culture phenomenon character Little Johnny. Do you enjoy our content? I enjoy our content, but I also enjoy being able to continue making it better. So if you would like to support us, head on over to vessel.com/the TTV channel for all of our content a week early if you sign up for early access. And heck, even if you don't want to do that, the content is still free. It will come out in just a week and you can still watch it as though you're watching a normal YouTube video. The difference being, it supports us and supports Vessel, which is a great platform. So go ahead, head on over to vessel.com/the TTV channel and get your free trial today. And don't forget to complain in the comments about how much you hate Little Johnny and my voice. I haven't heard it yet, so please, keep doing it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Sync.
Sync. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 208
Yeah, Mardi Gras.
TTV Podcast.
Now that we've don't we have any better jokes now that we've all become better friends and met each other?
Oh yeah, you're right. We do have a better
literally
joke. It's you.
Nothing. Oh my gosh, guys, what are we doing here?
Well, BrickFeed's over, and we all returned to our normal lives, including
Yeah, I was just
our
about to
normal
say.
podcast recording setup, and it's not that fun.
Yeah.
Even though the setup we had to record the video podcast, which hopefully will be out by the time this comes out, I believe it will, right?
Yeah.
Okay, video
knows?
podcast on Vessel. So the setup was incredibly bootleg. So it is nice to just kind of come home and just plug in a mic and just record, but it's not the same.
Is it really?
You know?
Is it really that
though?
Not the
nice?
same.
I mean,
I don't know.
I don't want to be here.
oh my gosh, Mark.
Okay, listen. All right, you have a problem. You have a problem. You gotta be on the
You
podcast.
see.
Got
Yeah,
99
no
problems
problem.
and podcast ain't one.
Oh my gosh, guys. It's like we went 2 episodes ago, we were the depression cast, talking about how BIONICLE is over and we're all frustrated and bothered that BIONICLE ended the way it did. And then the next podcast, we're giddy as children, and now here we are kind of in the middle.
Yeah,
Well,
this
it's
is going to
like-
be a very middle podcast,
Well,
I feel.
I've
I'm
this
trying
last
to
2 weeks.
multitask. I'm building a Zactan set at the moment.
Ooh, nice. Good
I'm just
stuff.
playing Pokemon.
In this last
I'm-
week, I've said goodbye to all my friends twice. That's how that's gone.
Oh, you
I also
think
said goodbye to
you've got
BIONICLE,
problems,
too.
Kahi? I don't know how to figure out
Yeah.
to put this dang head on.
Oh my gosh.
Don't you have to
Alright.
have friends
Well,
to say
before
goodbye
we
to
get any
them?
further into this, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves, guys.
Let's do
Hello, I'm Meso.
I'm Broderian.
I'm Eljay.
that. I'm John.
I'm Viper.
And once again, this is TTV episode 208. Now, before we get too far into things, I want to preface this because they were mentioning earlier it's going to be a little bit of an in the middle podcast, and that's totally true. Here's a little taste of what you can expect. So, BIONICLE ended, we went to BrickFeed, we came back, and I realized while we were gone how nice it was actually being a BIONICLE fan and not actually talking about like BIONICLE news. You know what I mean? Like getting to celebrate the spirit of BIONICLE,
Right.
but not actually discussing BIONICLE because
I see what you mean, yeah.
we got to have fun and be BIONICLE fans, but now we come back home and there's
Now we
like
have to
nothing
just be
good on this
BIONICLE
podcast
fans.
whatsoever. It's like it's all just blah stuff. So if you want a little dose of positivity in your life, I'd recommend you go back and rewatch 207 because that podcast was dynamite. But yeah, if you want to keep going, that's cool too. So if you want to do like some plugs, we've brought to you by Vessel and also Audible, and also our store page, and we'll probably talk about them throughout the show. Do we want to talk about any Vessel updates, announcements, or scheduling shifts now or later?
Let's do that. Let's do that now at the beginning, so that people kind of know what's gonna happen, basically.
You want to talk about everything?
Yeah, let's talk about everything right now.
All right, so I'll do it quickly, very briefly. Fill in if I miss anything. So, now the BIONICLE's over. Here's the deal. The whole concept when we started with Vessel, we didn't want our news-based discussion podcast to be locked behind a paywall. And we did that specifically for you, because we felt that the TTV Podcast, being free on Vessel, not behind early access, was good because you could go there every week and you could check out the latest BIONICLE news and you could comment on it while it's still relevant and you wouldn't have to wait like a week for it's out of date. Well, something funny happened. BIONICLE got canceled. And
Really?
now we're kind of left with that where are we even really going to be talking about much news on the podcast anymore? Like, we
What
are
news?
today, but how long could that conceivably last for? Because there's not a replacement construction theme right away, at least to our knowledge. There probably won't be for a year. And I doubt we'll have that many interesting discussions about Star Wars construction. So, the BrickFeed podcast, for all intents and purposes, is where you should go from now on if you want up-to-date, relevant LEGO news and discussion of said news. So, going forward, I think it only makes logical sense to invert the release patterns of the two podcasts. The BrickFeed podcast will be releasing free on Vessel, not behind the early access paywall, every Thursday, I believe. Thursday, Friday,
Yeah.
Saturday.
We'll be
we may be
reworking-
changing
we
the
might
release
be
date for
changing that,
BrickFeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe for now it's around that time frame. You can go to Vessel, you can check it out completely for free. And also, if you would like to subscribe to Early Access, you totally can, because that helps support us, but it's not mandatory for news-based podcasts. If you want to just hear us talk about stuff, you can just check out YouTube when the stuff comes out. And the TTV Podcast will now be behind the Early Access label. So if you want to hear us talk about random stuff, just fun discussions about life, talk about Bionicle, some depending on what we feel like, maybe not always.
Right.
TTV Podcast going forward is going to be the place to go with that.
Right.
And,
I think it's
You may
also,
ask yourself,
I think it's
what
also
about
worth
TTV
mentioning.
Talks? Well, you go first.
Yeah, I was about to say. You should also mention that with TTV Talks, we're also going to be retiring that show going forward because most of that discussion will now be held on the TTV Podcast.
It's a little pointless to have TTV Talks going alongside TTV. The only instances where TTV Talks will still be used, and we may bring it back, will be if there's a big event happening that we don't feel like should be the focal point of a podcast. Like if we still want to have a podcast, but we also want to talk about, I don't know, Suicide Squad, or a big movie, or some big current event.
Right.
But otherwise, we're probably not going to feel the need to do a weekly TTV Talks anymore about random stuff that we maybe will want to talk about on the podcast.
Yeah, maybe we want to talk about it. Maybe we want to try pulling teeth to get us all here. And
To get VAR here.
Yeah. Indeed.
I don't know, but yeah.
So, all this information will be in the description below if you want to check it out again. And if you want to ask us any questions, please feel free. But we feel like that's the only logical decision going forward.
Right.
Bionicle ending necessitates a switch in our content release patterns.
There's not a lot of
But
like
everything's still
purpose
gonna
in
be
the
the
TTV podcast being the Bionicle podcast, and then the BrickFeed podcast being the Lego podcast if there's no Bionicle. So we're
Maybe if there was a construction theme replacing it, but
there's not. That's
So-
not coming for next year. I get if you follow like Rooster Teeth, the best analogy we have is that the TTV podcast would be more like the RT podcast, and then BrickFeed's gonna be like the patch where it's like video game. I guess, yeah. Basically, that's gonna be our thing with
basically
system. So Lego all related stuff is gonna be on BrickFeed. That'll be all news. You can catch that us talking about current events as they happen. TTV podcast will be much more relaxed, just kind of talking about whatever the same thing that our podcast usually consists of when it's not talking about Bionicle.
Random nonsense. So that's pretty much that. If I had to give one more little update before we get into the meat of our discussion today, it would just be to remind everybody. I guess this is the first time we've really done this. It feels good to do this. Remind everybody of our leak policy. Because it's that time of year. It's leak season. And this is the first year, around this time of year anyway, that we will not be actively reporting on LEGO leaks of any kind. We won't be reporting on them. We won't be discussing them. And I'm talking everything from pictured confidential markings to impressions from retailers' catalogs. The only difference will be if like a list of set names gets put up on a retailer's site or whatever. As we mentioned prior, we'll probably still talk about that because for all intents and purposes, that's news worth reporting on. So, just people wondering, like, why aren't you reporting on blank? Or this set list got released, talk about blank. It's like, nah, as part of our policy last year, we're not going to be doing that. However, you're still welcome to discuss stuff on the TTV Message Boards. Just don't expect to get it reported on our channel. And with that being said, let's get into some fun discussions, guys. Let's survey the post-apocalyptic landscape. We went to Brick Fair, and now we're back. What are we up against?
Yeah. And meanwhile, in the land of G2 sets, and or models, I should say, I found a new enemy of mine. And that is Gen 2 Makuta combination model extraordinaire's chain. Oh my gosh, this thing is a pain in the butt cheeks. It's so difficult to maneuver and contend with and pose. And it keeps
isn't that the set in general? Difficult to pose.
Yeah, I guess that is a really streamlined way of looking at the entire thing.
Yeah.
But
It's a cool display model.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy I have it. So
I'm not sure if I'm gonna spend the whole $140 to build them. TBH.
Oh, I sure am not. I'm just gonna take apart my sets right now.
Oh, I'm not gonna take apart my sets. I think they're better sets than that Makuta mod. Or that Makuta build. I don't know. And it seems like it was really cool to build the first time and have in person, but I don't really want to go through the process of building it all over again just to have it for myself. And also, I don't know. I don't think it's really worth the parts.
I got
that could be going towards other things.
Like, it's a cool set, and if it was just that set, I might consider getting it. But like the fact that you have to get all these other sets in order to do it, and I mean I've seen it in person. Very cool looking set. It's just like for me going through all that trouble again versus engineering it. That's.
Right.
that was the fun.
That was reverse
I
engineering it
loved
was
that.
the fun of like sitting down and going all over and grabbing all these sets and doing it within that time period. That was the fun in
Trying
that
to
set.
pose this awkward Mega Titan. That's not so fun.
Well, I mean, you know, it's a model set. It's not like a.
I mean,
playable set.
it was one thing when Bionicle had just ended, and we thought that this is going to be the last hurrah of Bionicle itself. It's like it's kind of a good way to close it out, but now I've kind of already, because of Brick Fair, I've kind of already moved on from Bionicle itself, so I don't really have the attachment to it that I would have previously.
Well, I mean, it's because like
Brick
we got
Fair
a
was
closure.
good closure.
Yeah, we got a closure to Bionicle. We've met all the Bionicle people we've known for years and admired. You know, like. Lady Kapaka was there, Black Six, all these other people in the community that we've known for like forever were there. So we got to see him. Yeah, Shadow Gear was there. Awesome, dude. And then we went and then built Makuta. The last thing in G1, we had that like we showed it to the guy.
G2.
Sorry, you're right. G2. We showed it to the guy who made that. He was like, "Oh, that's great. You guys are heroes for doing that." In some roundabout way. And then,
As far as I'm concerned, the only other thing we need to do are make video instructions.
right. As far as we do that, I think that's like. I kind of had my my conclusion of Bionicle. I went through the whole
like
grief
what?
period. I was like angry, and then I was denial, and then now I've accepted that it's gone.
We were really angry at the Journey to One podcast, rightfully so.
Well,
That was a
rightfully
train wreck.
so.
But now I feel like
the only time I was angry was
moved
because it
past
was just poorly handled. Where like
was
there's
very
parts of
poorly
it that you could just see the potential that was ruined.
I think that was the
because of its
thing.
decision.
Yeah, it's like it was frustrating.
It was really frustrating, yeah, because like they basically laid out the groundwork that they had for all 3 years in that show Journey to One. So it's like you could see the bridges that they were going to be making over the course of this year and the next year. That just never came to be.
And I wish we were able to I wish they just gave us the bootleg version of what was going to happen. The study Bible, or not study Bible. What are we talking about? The story Bible. Study Bible. School's on my mind. I'm going back to school. They released a story Bible for what was going to happen in 3 years. Just kind of like, hey, this is what was meant to happen. Sorry we couldn't make it happen. But maybe you, the fans, can do something with this. That would be cool.
I would love to see this story Bible, but I heavily doubt they'll ever
Save
do
it for Hero Factor.
I heavily doubt it'll be fulfilling. It'll
yeah.
probably be like the most terrible thing in the
dang
world.
it, you said the trigger word.
That's
Connie.
another thing that's gone on since we came back. I'm not sure everybody's heard this, but Christian Faber, who was one of the main people who developed the initial idea for Bionicle, for those who don't know. He may have even been the guy. I tend to forget, but it was definitely based off of his struggles with having wasn't it a brain tumor?
It was a benign brain tumor
Right.
that he needed
Him
to
and
take
Bob
medication to
Thompson. I
reduce.
mean, there are a lot
Yeah.
of people involved creatively, but he definitely had a very strong driving hand behind.
He
Bionicle.
was essentially the inspiration for the name Biological Chronic. Wait, what, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it?
You're
Yeah,
right.
is it?
There we
Biological
go.
Chronic.
Come on, what kind of a
I know, I
Bionicle
almost-
fan are you?
Hey, quiz
Yeah, I
the
know, I
whiz,
almost
guys.
forgot the
Yeah,
corner
it's
back.
biological chronicle.
Oh,
Well,
you can
if we-
stuff
okay,
it.
You
would-
filthy
Favorite
casual!
Fool them to thinking of
Posting
something
a
else.
lot of stuff. After the cancellation of Bionicle, Faber's been using his blog again, posting reassuring pictures and images and whatnot about Taraga Beach
yeah.
and all that. Products discontinue,
Reassuring,
legends
alright.
survive. It's a very good message to keep in mind, and it kind of parallels what we were saying on the podcast that one week about how, Lego sets go in and out, but the spirit of Bionicle won't go away. Well, he posted another blog entry a couple days ago on August 10th talking about Hero Factory, of
The
all
Eljay did.
things. Just some random post about HF that has piqued the community's interest, because we haven't heard about HF in years. HF was a dead concept. But what Faber has to say seems a little strange and out of nowhere. He's talking about how the invasion from below and Hero Factory in general were criticized for a lot of different reasons, but then he shed some insight on what actually happens, talking about how the final special was made on a very low budget, the story got changed dramatically, it was meant to be continued, but it wasn't, they couldn't afford the old voice actors, so they had to have in-house talent do them, they didn't have the budget for the old voice actors. Everyone prior had thought it was a contracting issue with like Tinseltown Tunes, but no, they were broke, they couldn't afford them. But then what he goes on to say is talking about how he's worked on BIONICLE and HF both from the very beginning, and he wants to tell people that the work that went into creating the HF universe was much more deep than the early foundation of BIONICLE. And he talks about how they wanted to use all the knowledge they had learned from BIONICLE to make something truly great in the nowadays era. Talking about how the backstory was deep and epic and held a ton of secrets that are in the story Bible that he just never got a chance to show anybody and never got to tell anyone. And the last thing he said was that HF, the Hero Factory, was only meant as a location springboard into a vast story universe, and the story was meant to get much more personal when the real truth about the factory was discovered. The real hero would be found somewhere else.
Whoa.
And this blog post's interesting for a lot of reasons. Namely, at least for me, I followed HF for many years, but I'm looking at how he's outlining all this. A series with very low budget, ended too soon, story cut down before it truly got a chance to grow, very poor marketing, but it had some cool sets.
Sounds just like Galador.
Sounds pretty familiar to me.
Bring back
But not
Galador, everybody.
Galador. No, that
Yeah,
was
so it can take a leak on HF's grave too.
HF
And I
is
gotta
great.
really wonder.
Yeah, I can't talk
Eljay and I
today.
were talking about it briefly last night. We were like, why would Faber post this now? Why would he post it at
Because
this
he has
moment?
no tact.
What?
I don't think so.
Listen,
Why
so
does-
here's my
okay, alright, go for
my
it.
thought process.
Go for it.
I was saying that Faber posting it at this time, specifically that, in the words that he put it, that can be easily misconstrued. Obviously, we know what he means. We know his intention. I think it's poor timing. Had he waited a month, I would have been fine.
I think,
Why is it poor timing?
I think it can be misconstrued if you want something to be upset about.
Because it's right after BIONICLE gets canceled for the second time. LEGO has been dishing out plates of disappointment dinner for the last 2 weeks since BIONICLE's ended. No Makuta instructions, no Makuta set. You have to basically jump through hoops in order to get either of those things. No Mask of Ultimate Power.
Plates of disappointment dinner. I love it.
We have
And-
disappointment
It's a
dinner
good
at breakfast.
title.
And and so everyone's really dejected. And here Christian Faber comes in, the deity of BIONICLE, basically. He did X, Y, and Z amount of stuff. He's posted all this concept art. Everybody loves him. He's the best. And then he goes ahead and says, so you know that line that you guys all almost unanimously despise because you think that it replaced the line you loved? I'm not only going to tell you that it had more story and more depth than BIONICLE did, but I'm going to tell you nearly immediately after the line you love got canceled again.
No, I don't think so. I think you're
I don't
kind of
see it
reading
like
it
that at all.
too into it. Like you really want to.
yeah,
And I'm not saying that it was with malicious intent.
No, I'm
just
saying
it's
that
bad timing.
You saying it has bad timing is you reading too far into it. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that's like anything at all.
I don't think there's anything to read into. I think it's just bad
Like
timing.
maybe
That's
if
it.
you're really butthurt about it, then sure, it's bad timing.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking, too. I think the only reason to be upset about this is if you're looking for things to be upset about.
Right.
I
And
don't
I
know.
think
maybe
maybe the
figure out what
maybe
went
the
on in his
timing
mind.
maybe the timing is bad in the sense that everybody right now is looking for things to be upset about. So
Nobody has been upset about this, from what I can see.
Yeah, I don't.
Not a single person. It's been
Okay.
skeptical remarks about whether he's telling the truth about like HF having a deeper story than
Right.
Bionicle
Is
did
he,
initially
like,
or whatever.
Is he doing?
People are
is he pulling
skeptical
like
about
a
that.
Josh Trank? Is he pulling a Jared Leto? Like, oh, there's a great cut of this movie that you'll never see.
Oh, guys,
Yeah,
guess
exactly.
what? You know, you'll never get to see it, but History of Bionicle is definitely going to be the greatest TTV show ever
You
on
did
our
not
channel
need
ever.
to say that.
Wow.
Oh yeah, no, we cut all the great stuff out of Biocraft. It was gonna be amazing.
Wow.
Oh
To
Yeah.
me, I think it's important we gotta try to psychoanalyze Mr. Faber.
Why do you
We
do
gotta
this?
be like,
Everything is psychoanalyzing with you.
we've gotta be like, why did he post this now? And I got a couple theories, and they're just that, theories. Because I'm not Christian Faber, obviously. I don't know why he did this.
Could have fooled me.
But I think number one could have been he's seeing a bunch of comments, maybe throwing around HF's name, like, oh, Bionicle failed because it was too much like HF. HF did too much damage to the Construction brand, etc. And he obviously liked HF to a decent degree, so he may have felt the need to write up a blog post in defense of it, saying, hey, you know, Bionicle's ended for a lot of these issues, but were they really HF's fault? Because we worked on the initial Bionicle, and we had a plan for the theme to make it a truly good successor, and just because it didn't work out in our how we initially planned, I don't think it's necessarily the reason why Construction is dead. That's one theory, or he's doing it intentionally right now, which is kind of what I think. People are wondering, people are like, why did G2 get canceled? What went wrong with LEGO? Why is the marketing so bad? Why is the budget so bad? And I think he posted this to say, well, history has a way of repeating itself. You guys may not know this has already happened once before, very recently, almost exactly, word for word. So perhaps there's trends here that you should pick up on going forward. And then about 3 hours later, he deleted the blog post. Probably, if I had to guess, simple guess, due to
No, definitely.
him getting told to from upper management.
I don't think from upper management. Remember, Christian Faber's a freelancer. He works for himself now. I think he was contacted by someone, and they said, "Could you please not?" And then he said, "Okay, sure," and he removed it.
Yeah, because he later updated in the comments, and he was like saying he deleted it because he realized that he was too emotional, and he had difficulty separating business from a personal love for something, which read to me like,
Yeah.
someone told him, listen, this is stuff you shouldn't be revealing on your blog.
Well, I mean, LEGO employees are very guarded about the information that comes out of that company, which is a good
course.
thing from a company standpoint. Like, if I ran LEGO, I'd be super proud of that. As a fan, that's the most frustrating thing in the world, because we don't know. Like, I mean, there's a level of transparency that I feel is just not there. Like we said not last week, but like 206. Like with
2 weeks ago.
G1, the ending was pretty transparent, all things considered. There were several reasons given. It was, the line was expensive to run. It wasn't as profitable anymore. The story was getting too complex. A lot of these factors were coming, and they were very honest with everybody. And with G2, it kind of feels like everyone's just kind of giving PR answers and shutting the door in people's faces and being like, we're just not allowed to talk about it. And I think
Yep.
if people were just able to be if we were able to get something, and we had a talk with some people, some LEGO employees, and they gave a good reason as to why they're not supposed to say anything, is not to cause mass panic.
Makes sense from a corporate perspective. It
definitely.
just is a bummer for the
As a fan, yeah.
Part of the problem I find is it's so evident that they're just PR answers as well, right? It's like
yeah.
they're not even good. Like, oh no, Bionicle sold well. It did sold better than others. Some sold better than others. So why was it canceled then? It doesn't make sense.
Okay, the Twitter thing was ridiculous. The Twitter thing I still can't believe happened, saying it sold well.
Yeah, it's like come on, it just don't even acknowledge it at all. If that's gonna be your answer.
Yeah, no, because then you create this whole thing. It's like the obvious thing is it didn't sell well, and people can accept that. When you say it sells well, then people are like, well, wait, then what? Well, what happened?
Exactly. You made it worse.
Yeah,
now.
it's like I can accept the Bionicle didn't sell well. I'm not like, as tough as it is for me to accept, I can be like, you know what, that's probably the harsh reality. But if it didn't, if the numbers are not lining up to that, then I really have no idea. Maybe it sold well according to projections, but LEGO just was not on board with these projections for construction anymore.
They probably jumped ship.
I mean,
behind the
honestly-
wager, which is the future.
If-
sadly, they've been trying to save this brand for about 6 years, and it doesn't seem to be working.
Construction is one of those
So
things.
perhaps they have just
I mean,
stopped.
it's kind of like we don't really know how hard they've really been trying, to be honest.
We don't
haven't.
we don't
Because
know.
Because,
yeah,
as a
if you're
fan
looking
that
at the
followed their
marketing for
advertising.
G2, then yeah, they haven't been trying at all.
Yep. Same with HF. If you want to do the history repeating itself shtick, that was advertised even less. They never even had contests with BIONICLE. They just threw up the TV show. At one point, we caught the premiere of their newest season of the TV show on TV randomly at like 4 a.m., where we just so happened to be in call talking. There was no lead-in, no promotion, no advance notice, nothing. They just put it on TV and expected
remember
people
that.
to find it. So it's a trend that has been recurring over the last couple of years. And if I had to guess, I don't think it's probably ever going to get any better. Because kind of a thought I had the other day. People asked, why isn't BIONICLE doing as well? Why isn't BIONICLE getting blank? Well, it's kind of like if you'd said 10 years ago when they had Knight's Kingdom running alongside BIONICLE. It's like, why isn't Knight's Kingdom getting a theatrical movie? Why isn't Knight's Kingdom getting a big story with big budget? It's because LEGO already has this one theme that's incredibly popular. It's making them a ton of money that they're sinking all their time into. It's Ninjago. They don't really need multiple, especially not one that doesn't use traditional brick-based LEGO pieces. It's
Right.
a tougher sell to the masses. Why would they put their time into developing this in the hopes that it maybe will reach enough sales to be mediocre?
Right.
When they could just funnel money into the hype train that is Ninjago and have it ride all the way to the bank.
I remember when we went to
it makes sense.
we went to Comic-Con 2 years ago, me and Var, and we talked to the guy and doing the stores, and he's like, when the Lego movie came out, he said that was the quickest I've ever seen sets fly off the shelves. He's like, we literally,
I remember
so
that
like,
conversation.
So we're the Lego store, so we always have Lego sets. It's all we sell. We genuinely, literally never run out of stock. We ran out of stock for the Lego movie
We
sets.
did not have any Lego movies.
He's like, we didn't have, and he was like, it was it was crazy to him. The Lego movie universe, like doing the whole cinematic universe deal, like building all that up. That's what Lego's investing in because they're able to capitalize on both movies and the toy tie-ins. Usually, like if Marvel makes a movie, like what Mattel gets the toy rights and they do all that. If Lego makes a movie, Lego gets part of the profits from the box office. Lego also makes literally all of the toy merchandise. Mattel will be like, they'll maybe get action figures, but like there's also the Lego stuff that goes to them. There's like the costumes and everything. Literally, Lego gets everything from what they make as their IPs. Lego gets every bit of that merchandise money. So,
So it is a no-brainer. They would want to go into all of that.
Speaking of Lego
And
stores,
BIONICLE feels like a relic.
shout out to the employees at the Tyson's Corner Lego store back in Virginia for recognizing us as TTV and coming over and saying hi. That was so cool.
Man, that sounds awesome. I'm glad I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Gosh, I
I
would have
wish I was
walked.
there.
I would have walked right in. They'd been like, "Oh my gosh, it's Var, it's Viper, it's oh my goodness!" And then I'd be
Eljay.
it would have been over. I'd be like, "Yep."
No, I wish I could-
It's your
Viper's
face!
Irish cousin.
Hello everyone. I'm from Ireland, and I'm Viper's
Guys, you
cousin.
gave away the cover up. No,
I mean,
Is
I'm
he
not
using it again.
I'm not. I'm not.
It's like
I didn't use it.
Yeah, I
when
was
when
gonna
I
say,
said that
you
I would
gave
use
away
it,
your
you guys
income.
shot it down,
Like,
and now I'm
That
never
was our
gonna use
plan.
it.
It was like, if anybody spotted Eljay, we were going to be like, yes, it's Viper's Irish cousin.
And I mean, like that probably would have worked.
no,
like,
it wouldn't have. Not once.
it would not
think
have.
about it.
That would not
Eljay,
convince
do
a
the
single
voice.
person.
hang on,
Try to
hang
do
on.
your best.
I already did the voice, but here's the thing.
Do it again.
Honestly, if I could muster up some form of an accent that would have worked, physically, Viper and I look enough alike to where we could be mistaken as related up till our eyes. Yes.
Not
Yes.
really.
Yes. Well, let me explain.
Really?
Aside from being white,
That's
not
well,
really.
I could say I'm
Really?
Envy's cousin because we have the same skin color.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna get to
Okay,
this.
all
There's a round head, like brown hair. The only issue is she doesn't have brown eyes. So that
No, that's
would've
not
been
the
where
issue.
The story
Like,
ended.
it's not just the head shape and the hair color that get there.
You have
It's like
your
literally
mother's
like you guys
eyes.
don't look anything alike.
This reminds me of.
That's like it's
No, I never saw like that. I don't think you look anything like me.
Viper's like, I'm not
Yeah,
that
no,
ugly.
I'm
Good
attractive.
grief.
Ouch. Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when you try to like,
You literally just did the same joke, except in your
Yeah.
favor. What do you mean, come on, man?
Come on, man.
trying to put,
Come on, man.
Well,
Shadow Gear liked it. He'd like that
Shadow Gear's a
face.
cool dude.
Shadow Gear, dude.
Yeah.
I love Shadow Gear's face. I was looking at photos of him. I was like, that's a great face. I love that face.
Oh, no.
What?
What a quote.
I love Shadow
Dude,
Gear's
I'm
face.
telling
I
you,
was just
man.
looking at photos
Like,
of
what's
him.
it, like
Man.
he posted the thing. I'm like,
Facebook
that's a great-
stalking him.
No, I mean like we posted the thing on Twitter, and I was like, that guy has a great face. I love that face.
There you go, Shadow Gear. Make sure you stay away from Kahi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that? No,
Alright,
why
well.
just got dibs? I'm just like
Speaking of Lego
That's a good
stores,
face. Handsome
let's
face.
talk about how we
boy.
can't find Bionicle
All right.
sets.
Okay. Now, okay,
Oh!
this is legitimately frustrating. This is actually
No, it is terrible.
I don't understand the mentality behind this decision at all.
I'm
Like,
trying to find AT's direct messages because it really shines a light on his plate, but having
Like-
some trouble.
well, okay, to give you some context, AT was trying to find all the sets he needed to build the Makuta set. Which is something that we were kind of running into when we were at Brick Fair. We were
He
trying to
just
find
wanted Quake Beast too. Like he couldn't find Quake Beast either.
right. He was trying to find Quake Beast. Yeah. So the thing is, if you go to any store right now, literally any store other than Toys R Us, good luck finding any G2 Bionicle sets.
Yep.
Even on
They are not. Yes,
Uh-huh.
even on Amazon.
Oh, crud.
Good luck finding at least any that are at a reasonable price. A lot of them are marked
AT
up
was
to like
trying to find Quake Beast. It was like $35.
$35 on Amazon.
Oh.
Yeah, for a Quake Beast. That's ridiculous.
Toys
If
R
you-
Us has a Kimu marked up to $23. It's terrible.
You try to find any G2 set spec, you are not going to find Tahoe at this point. Guys, if you're trying to find G2 Tahoe, go to eBay. You're
yeah,
not
no,
going
I
to find
couldn't.
them
I
anywhere.
couldn't find
Game
them at
over, man.
Toys R Us
Game
here. In,
Yeah, I
Pittsburgh.
don't know. I don't.
We
Yeah, I don't-
could not find him in any store we went to, and we went to Meso. I keep forgetting the
10?
tally. How many stores did we go
10.
to?
When's it like?
I believe,
Right.
unless I'm mistaken, I thought it was 3 Targets, 3 Walmarts. It may have been 2 Walmarts, 2 Toys R Us's, a Lego store, and then the Brick Fair vendors themselves, which also didn't have any.
Keep in mind that it's actually more than that because there were some stores we checked while we were just getting groceries
Right.
and stuff that we
You're
never
right,
actually
huh?
kept tally of.
Target or whatever.
Yeah, we just walked
just
over to
the
the toy
Makuta
store
hunt.
while we were there. So yeah, there were a ton of stores we checked. Could not find Tahoe in any of them.
Yeah.
So
Walmart is basically done at this point. They've cleared all stock. All Walmarts we checked, all Walmarts in my local area. Target had some, but my local Target just checked the other day. They're gone. They filled it up with Angry Birds. Bionicle is done. They never even stocked the summer sets. Not Target or Walmart. Never had the summer wave. The beasts.
Yep. And
Toys R Us still has a few.
Toys R
They're
Us is your
marked up
best
and
bet
hard
if you want to
find.
find G2 sets because they still have a couple. It looks like they're still
And
stocking.
even
a little
according to
bit.
AT, his plate, all Toys
Okay,
R Us within
I
2
went
hours
same
of him
thing.
are
I
sold
went
out of
to
Quake
Toys R
Beast.
Us. I was
Can't
gonna buy a
find them.
set, and I looked at the Bionicle G2 stuff. They have everything there but Quake Beast. All the like the summer wave of G2, 2016.
Yeah, you know that's what Takuma was here earlier. He was talking about the same thing. He couldn't find Quake Beast at all.
Wasn't Quake Beast supposed to be like some kind of exclusive or something? Wasn't that like a thing when they originally were?
It was Storm Beast that everyone presumed was going to be a Toys R Us exclusive.
Right. Okay.
Don't know about
okay.
Quake Beast.
Man, can you imagine
Online ended up
Can
being
you
Toys R
imagine
Us
if Quake
exclusive.
Beast was the Makuta combiner?
Let's not talk about
Anyway,
Boy.
here's the deal. Here's why this does not make any sense at all. So Legos decided to cancel Bionicle because it didn't sell well. That's what we're presuming, but I mean it's pretty obvious
Sold
that's
well.
the case. Didn't sell
Sold
well.
well, guys.
They've canceled the line now. Totally makes sense. As a business decision that makes sense. But the summer wave just came out like a month ago. In fact, it shouldn't have come out a month ago. It actually
Right.
the normal release dates are usually August. So
It
That's
is.
correct.
this month really is when it should have come out. So this wave of sets is basically a month old, at 2 or 1.5 months old, basically. It just came out, and you already cannot find it anywhere. They have
I haven't got
completely
any
shut
new
out.
sets.
They have if you didn't get the new set, you're screwed now because they have
Yep.
completely shut out all the stock here. They are no longer replenishing the stock in any of the retailers. You can barely even find them online. They're probably going to be taken off Shop at Home if they haven't already.
Even Toys R Us, the only place you can really find them, according to AT. One Toys R Us he called said they pulled all their Bionicle stock off shelves to make room for other stuff.
What
So on a case
is
by case
going
basis,
on? This makes zero sense to me at all. These are brand new sets. Why are they completely discontinuing the stock?
Sounds like it's like a waste of money. I think,
is!
personally. It's like you spend all this money like trying to dispatch sets and everything, and then
Only
like
to
the
immediately
first
pull 'em.
month you just not even the first month you just get rid of them. It's like just let it slowly decline, then take them off the shelves.
To be wiped out, I guess.
Honestly, yeah, Bionicle seems like
Yeah,
the child Lego never wanted, and now they're just
Is it like
walking
yeah,
in
it's
the cupboard.
something that Lego's embarrassed about? Like
Bionicle.
No, okay,
Yeah,
here's the deal.
Bionicle is literally Harry Potter.
Here's the thing that you should take. Here's the thing you
He's-
should take
he's
away
the
from
line
this,
from
all
under
right,
the
if you're
stairs.
listening out there, if you want to make a good bit of money in a couple years, buy these sets right now, because what you're hearing from us, what you're hearing from everyone else, is that there's a limited stock of these, which means there's a much smaller pool, which means in the future people will be willing to pay way more for them because there's less of them out there. If you had the money right now,
That
and
is
you know,
true.
You're pretty smart about this,
Yeah.
and we're willing to sit on something for a couple years. Buy a bunch of these sets, especially Quake Beast. If you have a Quake Beast right now that isn't opened, you, my good friend, you are sitting on a gold
hold
mine.
him tight.
Get
You'll
as
need
many
him.
of these sets as you can, and kind of like store them just in case. What?
Why would you give that advice when we could be
because
doing
right
this?
now I'm hoping to
Yeah, I know, right?
inflate the market now with like all these things, and then it'll cause an automatic shortage.
Fair enough.
I know that AT did mention this, but it just blew my mind when I went on Lego.com. Quake Beast was the only set that sold out.
Wow.
And like Umarak and Akimu have checked to call to check product availability, which means they're done as well. The only ones that are still being readily sold, in fact, the only two Bionicle sets, period, that are even able to be sold right now are Lava Beast and Storm Beast.
That is
Everything else
ridiculous.
either on clearance or already done and retiring.
It's bad enough that you've canceled everybody's favorite line here. You've taken away the promise of a whole other year. You've destroyed what could have been a good show. You took the one main villain of the entire line and haven't released them. You didn't give us our final mask. You haven't done any of this. You've basically gone out of your way to screw your fan base entirely. And now you're not even selling the freaking sets you've already released.
Possibly. All right, here's what
It's
possibly
been a
happened.
month!
The mandate came when it said to cancel Bionicle. It said, okay, we're ceasing production on these sets. And that's what happened. I mean, honestly, that's exactly what happened.
So why cancel it now? Why not wait until a couple
Because
months after
it's
you've released
just
these
not
sets? I mean,
profitable.
this is
I mean, like,
ridiculous.
as much as great
They
as it
probably looked at
is,
those beasts and looked at those jaw
as
pieces
great
and were like,
as it
nobody's
is
gonna
for
buy
us,
these.
the fans,
Cancel it.
who like this product, who like this line, and who have investment in it. From a corporate standpoint, if it's not going to sell well, sometimes it's just not worth, continuing with the thing. And I don't know if that's what went on behind the scenes. That's part of my thing, is that the lack of transparency has led me to speculate what is going on with corporate, what is the decision corporate's making right now. I don't have that kind of experience to like accurately, sit down and judge what's going on from that standpoint. But I think that's a pretty safe assumption to make, is that someone upstairs said, we're ceasing production, and everyone said, sure. And down the line, they stopped the factories, they stopped producing the molds. I'm assuming that they are wanting to, they have no construction line now. So all the factories, all the things that were dedicated towards doing construction are now doing something elsewhere. I would be like, I don't know what's going on with the
probably not doing
construction team
anything.
at the moment. I think the construction team is like,
I would hope maybe they've rerouted into a part of the building and are working on developing a new big
I would hope
team.
so.
Maybe we'll see.
You would hope,
I mean, but I don't know.
but there's
So,
no plans for that
that's
now.
actually something interesting I didn't think about. Like, so we met a member of a member of BZ Power at the thing. He was also a Lego set designer. He designed a set for Makuta. He worked on construction set. Is he now working with System, or is he like? Well, I mean,
Is he just kind of
I mean,
sitting around?
Forget. I think all the people that worked on construction got moved to.
okay, no, that would
However,
make a lot of
I cannot
sense. The
verify
closest
this.
thing. I'm just saying that, like, if you are talented with building with construction, which he very well was. Building a system is a very it's a very different type of architecture, building all that stuff. I don't know if a lot of people make that transition over or are still being used in that capacity. So people might have. I mean, not that people might have lost their jobs over it, but like there's definitely reassignments going on if there's no new construction line for 2017.
I mean, the reality of it is that the people might have lost their jobs if they're not
Possibly.
doing
I mean,
construction
no,
right now.
that's
I mean,
that's impossible to say.
That's a whole department. I mean, it is impossible to say, but that's a whole department that's no longer
we're
doing
creating this
anything
like
right
straw
now.
man company where like Lego has fired all the people from the construction crew, and how could they lose these people their jobs? We don't even know they've done that.
Well, listen, this is what happens when you don't give
We don't know
proper
that, but I mean,
information.
they destroyed their entire stock here. They're not even stocking the sets that they've worked all year on making. So I don't know what to say. They're not being transparent about it at
there
all.
is
It's hard to say what
also,
they're doing.
Now, isn't it?
I mean, what are those factories doing? If they've got the molds for the construction pieces, and that's what they're supposed to be building right now.
No, not
What are they doing? They're just
Probably,
sitting there.
I mean,
Well,
like
guys, from all reports, we got 3 more Star Wars
I feel-
buildable figures.
that's true. We do have those.
Seriously, that's like
We do
all
have
we know
those.
about. We have the 3 for Rogue One, and then like 3 coming more later.
We
It's
also
like,
know
that's
that
it.
like Lego's not just gonna let a factory lie there. They're gonna just repurpose. It's the same type of plastic injection, that type of thing. They're just gonna use it to print more system, I would assume. I don't think like Constructions has its own like dedicated
Finally.
factory where it only prints construction stuff.
Yeah, well, you
That's
also
true.
don't know that.
You're right. You're right. This is all conjecture. I have no idea how Lego
What's
works.
up, Eljay?
No, nothing important. I just finished this freaking chain.
Oh, nice.
Because when I left, I had to tear Makuta apart, put him in my bag to carry him, and I had like he got jostled around in the box in my bag,
Well, hey.
and the chain fell apart.
At least you can be
And so
happy
I had to
about
put it
that.
back on it works. Yeah. So I mean, yeah. Kadi,
Yeah.
you mentioned him earlier. We spoke to Corvin, known on BZ Power as Vezok's friend. A credible guy, really, really down to earth,
Cool guy.
really easy
Like
to
him.
talk to, and he was one of 3 set designers that worked on the Makuta model that we ended up building at Brick Fair. And I have the names for the other 2. I'll just pull them up in a second. But he worked on the lower half of Makuta, like the skeleton for the legs and some of the hips. And then the other 2 kind of finished it while he was away. And I don't think he said anything specifically talking about the theme, but it was really interesting because like he was a member of the community, and then he was hired by Lego to do construction, and now I don't know what he's up to. It's like,
I like how that whole
we
rigmarole
just
was
don't
basically
know.
just to say, I don't know what the construction team is up to.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what point are you
I know,
making
right?
here?
Listen, honestly,
You're making the winding path.
I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
Okay,
I mean,
so,
you're not wrong.
all right,
I
awesome.
lost,
You're certainly
I
right.
lost my train of thought.
You're certainly
Right.
right with what you're saying. I don't know what any of those people are
I
up
was
to
I was
now.
just pulling things out of my
That's
mouth while
that's
I found the
like
names.
that's like writing an entire book with characters and everything, and then the end goal is this
Yeah,
is
it's
a
like,
story.
well,
No,
Listen, I lost my train of thought. I was
Okay.
looking for the names to set.
I don't know what Vezok's friends
I
are.
just- I don't know
what
why
Brick
you
things doing.
even
I don't
started
know what any
talking.
other people are doing
I don't know.
My hope
I don't know.
is that what's happened is even though there isn't one plan for 2017, they've rerouted and they have people who are actually producing something long term that we'll see maybe in 2018. Another part of me asks, is that even possible? Do I even want that? I don't know. It's a difficult situation to be in.
no, okay, listen, I
no,
mean,
I'm
like,
done.
I mean,
I'm
it's
going
just
with the VAR logic school, even though you didn't say this as much. You were using it in a very specific case with G2, but I actually agree with it going forward. CCBS sets, no story. Just make them. Don't do Bionicle, do commemorative sets. Do special sets. Make it a brand like
collector
other
sets.
things. Creator, city, etc.
right.
You can't do
I agree.
plots. You
I
can
think
tell a
that's the way to go
story.
because
You have talented people in the story team who can tell a good story, but you as a company, Lego, I'm talking
Lego's
you,
not willing to back that story.
You cannot reconcile that anymore. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened somewhere along the line to change things up, but selling the sets and telling the story don't seem to mesh as easily as they used to. Keep making the good sets because that's what you do for a business, and if there's one thing I can say that the legacies left by HF, Bionicle G1, Bionicle G2, everything, were some pretty cool
G2,
looking
man.
sets.
Hey,
Just
shout out to
focus
all
on
the people
that.
who worked on GT though. That
Dude.
was a good line. That was a good line.
They're gonna.
Really
Meso,
good
I
line.
swear. Lego's gonna listen to what you said, Meso, and they're gonna hunt us down next Brick Fair.
Do it. I'll have a dialogue. Perhaps
yeah,
I'll actually
good.
learn something. I would love to be told, hey,
Oh my gosh!
I would love to be told, this is why we do this. This is the logic behind
Yeah,
this
honestly, that's what
decision.
I would like.
And you're wrong, you stupid person on the internet. You know what? If anybody wants to say that, bring it. I'm open to learning.
I would listen. If
make me
they were to
really
come
laugh.
up with a better statement, I'd be the first to be like, hey, I wanted to publicly apologize for this because we did not know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I'd be 100% up for that. But I mean, it's harder now, and I get as people who have our own thing behind the scenes. Why isn't this coming out? And why have you stopped producing this? Why is Mock Spotlight not going on? It's like I understand that there's stuff that corporate wants to we don't want to give stuff to our competition. We don't want to do. It's just, but it's like,
Well,
I don't know. It's still frustrating a bit, and there's just no solution to it. You're just gonna have to be frustrated for a while.
It's just
I
like
just
Christian
can't
Faber said in
comprehend.
the comments of his blog post, where he was basically like, when you're on the creative side of things, the energy of the fans is a fantastic force full of inspiration and emotion, but on the business side, it's often an unpredictable and dangerous force that goes against logic. So I'm sure they have their
Oh, yeah.
reasons, they're just not plainly clear to us.
I really hate to say it, but fans, and all fans, just collectively, not just Bionicle fans, it could be Mass Effect fans, it could be, Ninjago fans, all of them kind of have, this same mob mentality, even though the individuals in that fandom can be, reasonable and patient.
It's because they're
But as a whole.
fan is short for
And-
fanatical, so that is absolutely
Yep.
the case.
So
It was
I
like
can
people were saying the
understand
G1
completely.
Bionicle story should be given over to the fans officially to make recognized canon people vote on or whatever, and everyone was just like,
See,
no.
I disagree with that, but I don't think it. I think it's okay to come up with your own,
course
but
it is.
not necessarily confirm it as canon.
And also, the fandom
that's
should
the
create
thing
the
that-
canon. That doesn't work. The fandom's not an entity.
no, that doesn't
No.
work. And they tried to. The fans tried to do that. The community tried to do that back in Gen 1.
Yeah.
Where they had all these different projects, and I think there's one central one, I don't remember the name of it, and they really, really tried to be, okay, we're gonna make all this stuff, we're gonna take it to Greg, and we're gonna canonize
Yeah,
it.
it doesn't work.
Obviously, it ended up like Team Anarchy and fell to pieces as soon as it
Nice
started.
callback.
So.
Yeah, it was inconsistent
that's what-
and broken.
Centralization with something
Exactly.
like that is doomed to fail when you have a community as large
even-
as Bionicle or
yeah.
anything whatsoever, and people have ideas. There can't be one singular thing that's like, we're going to continue Bionicle, and we are going to be the ones to do it, and we are the officially recognized project, and everyone should follow ours, because some guy over there may have a different way of how he wants to continue Bionicle. Somebody over here may not like what you did, this particular thing, and it's not
Yeah,
official
and-
anyway. They just need to do their own. Just let people operate as
Let
individuals.
them write
in this
stories. Let them do comics. Let them do whatever they feel is good. Let them.
Centralized projects are good for the purpose of getting something done that is too large to do on your own. That's the purpose of large-scale projects, recruiting help. But having a large-scale project where its only goal is to be this central authority, for lack of a better word, that doesn't work. Not nearly as well.
Let's go beyond not nearly as well. It won't work. The reason why is because it never has because it's hard to get people to commit a lot of time and effort into something that they don't believe in or they don't get paid for. You have to do one of these things. Either you believe in it or you get paid for it. But if you don't, it's very hard to do it otherwise. And whenever you do, especially a creative project, always something comes under fire. You really have to work hard at that to make that happen.
Different people have
Right.
different opinions, and that's kind of the beauty of a fandom. But trying to get everybody to agree on the same thing and put their time into it is doomed to fail.
Indeed.
Yeah. I just don't know how bad did Bionicle sell.
must
that
have
they
done
decided
pretty bad.
it's more profitable to just completely destroy the stock of new sets
don't
that were
say
just
destroyed
released.
stock. It's like they took all the sets out to the back and burned them.
All right, okay, shut
lit
up.
the
That
stock on
obviously that's
fire.
not.
They put-
Obviously, I don't mean they
They put
physically
it-
destroyed everything they've already built. What I mean is they are no longer making new stock to set that they have just released.
Yeah, John, give it the
They put
program.
it in the Bionicle landfill
Yeah.
with
we
all
know
the
exactly.
ET cartilages and all other.
Of course that's not what
Listen,
I
I'm saying you
destroyed
said a
pieces.
very strong
Let's
term.
be honest, the writing is on the wall. The writing's on the wall. We know how poorly it's sold. It's sold well, okay? Lego's told us several times already. It's weird. Honestly, Now, Var, you mentioned this extensively in one of your autopsies, talking about the dichotomy between Lego and retailers. Mm-hmm. How does this fit in? Because obviously enough, like stores like Target, Toys R Us, Walmart, so on, they needed to buy all these Lego sets. Now they are the places we can't find them. Now, and Lego stores, it makes sense. We're only in Lego stores in the United States. Those are shoved into a corner in a mall. So obviously it'd be easy for them to just go and take them down. But what about all these other stores? Do you think they're being bought up? Do you think they're being shoved away back into another storage facility?
I mean, I don't know. I have no clue because Lego's relationship with retailers hasn't made sense since G2 started. So I've got no clue.
Here's how I would think, and I'm not knowledgeable about it at all. Var actually did the research on this, made his autopsy, so call me out if I'm spewing inaccuracies. I would wager it's like they buy the sets, and they put them on the shelves. If they do not sell, they just linger on shelves. They eventually try to recoup some of their losses through putting them on clearance to make up a partial amount of money. If they still don't sell, or if the sales are truly bad, they just have to find some way to just get rid of the sets. I don't know how specifically. And then they
I assume they just
scale
trash
back
them.
projections for the next wave or the next theme, and they don't stock as many sets. Because I saw this happen through HF. They initially had everything at my local stores. After a couple waves, they have cut down on a couple sets. They didn't stock everything. By the last wave of HF, they only stocked 4 sets each, which is about a third of what they initially stocked. And that didn't change for BIONICLE. I could never find the complete wave of sets at either my local
any
Target
retailer
or my local Walmart. They never had it. They had them in pieces.
That's the thing that I don't quite understand as far as the retailer relationship, because you could never find the entire wave at any one retailer. You always had to go to multiple places or buy online. So I'm not really sure what was going on there. But I mean,
my uneducated
as far as
guess was because they did not have enough faith that if they purchased the entire wave of sets, they could actually sell them all.
Right? And yeah, that definitely makes sense. I'm not really sure what. I guess really Lego needed to focus more on catering to retailers. I guess I don't know. I'm not really sure what's going on there. But I imagine retailers are sort of like investors. You kind of have to convince the investors that what you're selling is worth putting money into.
Yep. And that's kind of what Greg Farshty said, too. Way back when in our interview with him, he was like, the BIONICLE was taken off the shelves the first time before damage was done to that brand's reputation, to where people would have faith in it. Retailers would still have faith in it.
Unfortunately, it seems like Hero Factory might have continued that damage.
Yeah, I think it did. And I think G2 has cemented it. I don't think it'll ever be good again.
Okay, I'm not entirely confident about that.
Oh, really?
Maybe in certain markets. But it was huge in Russia.
Well, you know, that's
well, it's a shit. Yeah, I know, right? I'm glad you're mentioning Russia. We're not Russians. We're talking about American retailers here.
Well, I understand that, but are we only specifically focusing on one market or globally? Because keep in mind, all of this comes into effect.
Of course.
Lego isn't only going to decide whether or not a line stays based on one.
Correct, but I don't have that knowledge.
Yeah, we don't have that kind of knowledge. We're basing it off American markets.
Admittedly, you are right.
I can say it did not do great in America. It didn't do great in England.
Yeah, but I mean, we already know things are more successful in Europe than they are in America.
How do we know?
And obviously, yes, before anyone posts in the comments, obviously it's a thing where we can say our stores didn't sell well, and then you'll be like, well, my local store was always sold out. Everything was going great. I mean, we're aware of that. It's a flawed metric to go off of as concrete sales data, but it's all we can do. Because
why is that, like, if your store is sold out, why would that be, like, the immediate metric that something is selling well? Wouldn't something be more, like, available if they were always in stock because they were anticipating such a large sale of them that they bought a huge amount?
I mean, no. You're thinking about that from a buyer's perspective, but from a actual store owner perspective, the idea that you have to keep refreshing the stock because they keep selling out is because they're successful. Therefore, you keep putting money into buying more stock. But if you're buying the stock But if you're buying the stock and it's just sitting on the shelves, then you have to put it into clearance to get it sold, and it's still not getting sold, there's no reason to continue buying more stock.
I get what you're saying.
Yep, that's exactly what happened with my toy stores.
How can we gauge that? Like, for instance, if I go in and I see, all the toys on the shelves, does that mean that, earlier this week they were sold out, and so they ordered in a whole new batch, and that's why they're more than ever?
You can gauge that by looking at the store shelves, seeing if there's a freaking golly there the day it was released, and come back and that same golly is still there months later on clearance for $5. That's how you can gauge that.
It's the argument that's been going on for a long time because it's what Bionicle fans have to do. It's like, so which, in your mind, I understand what you're saying. It's a difficult metric to gauge, and I agree. It's just all we have. But picture this scenario. The Skull Villains come out, which would tell you that it's selling better. If you go into Target one day and there's like one skull slicer, everything else is gone, or if you go into a separate Target and they have rows of Skull Scorpios marked down on clearance for $10.
But I'm just saying that like right now Quake Beast is out, and that's not because Quake Beast is selling super well and the Lego is like having an unbelievable windfall with Bionicle.
Yes, but right now it's a different time because we know that Bionicle was actually canceled. But Lego only sells stock for certain sets over a certain amount of time. If there are still Skull Scorpios on the shelves right now after the second wave of 2016 has been released, that means those sets have been there for a year and a half now. They have not been sold.
The final Bionicle sets to go at my local Target were 2 Akitas and about 9 Skull Scorpios.
Right. Those sets were not selling because they are still there. They would not be there if they were selling well.
Clearance is the best way to see them is selling well or not. I agree with that. I'm just saying that like if you go into stores and you don't see clearance, there are 2 different factors that could go into that, and they could tell you 2 different things.
Okay, so here's a quick question.
Bring it.
Because this is a little bit perturbing. Do we recall seeing Quake Beast at all when we were in Virginia?
I saw Quake Beast.
I don't.
He was at a Toys R Us. Yes.
Okay,
Tahu was not.
There was
nobody. So when we were building Makuta, we were looking for all the sets, the 7 sets that we needed for Makuta. We were wigging out of our minds, going, "Oh no, we have to try and find Maskmaker versus Skull Grinder and Loss." Yep. Not only were we able to get them independently of any store, but we found both of them several times at several different stores.
We did.
And now,
we only found Loss in one store.
Maskmaker versus Skull Grinder was found in several stores.
I could have sworn we saw it twice.
Yeah, Maskmaker versus Skull Grinder was in several, but I mean, to be fair, he was the most expensive of the wave. So.
Yeah, and I mean, and then we saw Loss in not any small amount.
No, he was in a large amount.
I think it was a Toys R Us. Yeah. So, be it that the case, why is it so hard to find Quake Beast? Because, as far as I'm aware, reception toward the actual set, now that people have him, has been mixed to positive.
Quake Beast's a weird case because there's always been something sketchy going on with that set. Toys R Us had a promotion a while back. We talked about free Skull Villains and Quake Beast if you bought like $30. It wasn't any of the other Bionicle sets. It was just Skull Villains and Quake Beast that you could get for free.
Yeah.
And nobody
we don't really know what's going on.
why. Everybody made a bunch of
Suspect
jokes
Quake
like
Beast.
it's because Lego knows the set's bad and they want to get rid of stock, but like, is there actually some merit?
I have no idea what the deal is with Quake Beast. Well, okay.
I don't know if he's more popular with kids or not.
The
No
point I
clue.
was trying to make is that right now we're doing this thing in Bionicle.
favorite of
You
the
can
beast.
go like I went to Toys R Us the other day, right? And I saw the Lego movie sets up on top. Because these, I'm saying because the Lego movie sets are there. From what you guys are saying, you could possibly be like, well, these sets are still there, therefore they bought a lot of stock way back in 2014.
Well, no. Of course, it's not just one. It's not going to be a universal case, especially with the Lego Movie, because you can use other metrics and other facts to know that that's not the case for the Lego Movie, because we already know that movie was so popular that sets were being sold out like that instantly. So obviously, the reason those sets are there was because retailers were overstocking them.
They sold too well the first time. That's the point I was trying to make.
Right, but that's no. But that
I never said it makes sense for Bionicle. I'm saying that there's several.
Different line.
Like you're trying to make a blanket statement on something that you can't be.
Whoa,
No,
this
that's
is
what.
intense.
No, we are not. We're making a statement on Bionicle. No one's talking about any other Lego sets right
for
now.
Bionicle is not as clear cut as you're making it out to be, because there are many different drivers.
No, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. Bionicle just got canceled, and there's still freaking Skull Scorpio sets on retailers' shelves. Of course it's clear cut. They didn't sell well. No one was overstocking on Skull Scorpio, dude.
No, I'm not.
Come
listen,
on.
I'm not saying that Bionicle sold well, obviously enough. I'm saying that like the way that you're using to measure this thing overall is not a universal case, which is what the point I was bringing up.
That of course. No one has said it's a
Like,
universal case.
No,
though.
I was explaining that.
explicitly. We were saying
I was
this is
explaining that
explicitly
and
in
arguing
regards to
against it.
Bionicle.
That's the
Entrance
thing.
into this conversation as a metric was framed with the precursor that it's not concrete. It's just all people can say. Like, I was even saying the inevitable rebuttal would be somebody in the comments going like, well, the sets were flying off the shelves at my local store, so that must mean... And that was a lot of posts from people who were trying to quell the Bionicle naysayers and the doomsdayers by saying like, I don't know what's going on in your region, but the sets sell really well in mine. It's like, it's not worldwide. It's not universal. It's just all we as fans have to go off of because LEGO does not publicize sales data, and they probably never will.
Unless they do
brag
really
about it in
well,
their earnings
right.
reports.
The only time we hear about sets doing anything is when they're doing
Right.
well in the yearly profit reports.
Or when some schmuck posts about it on Twitter.
Right. So yeah. Basically, LEGO had to convince the retailers to stock the shelves. That's the whole point of Toy Fair, is to get investors and people who are willing to buy stock to see the sets in person and decide for themselves whether they're worth investing in.
Yeah, and for the store thing, it kind of comes down to like the saying, you may have won the battle, but you lost the war kind of idea. It's like, in certain areas, yeah, Bionicle might be incredibly popular, but overall,
Right.
you know
Yeah.
that the biggest like areas of like places such as America, such as Europe and England, which is a small place, but it's got a lot of people in it who can afford sets, didn't do too great.
Right. And
That's a shame, but you, as a business standpoint, you got to think about the majority instead of the minority.
right. And there are always
yeah.
there are always key markets that you need to focus on and build the brand to make the overall product a success too. Like, for instance, like China for movies is like a huge deal. If you can,
Yeah, like the whole thing with Warcraft.
Exactly.
Like, Warcraft did really terribly in England and America and places like
But
that.
the fact that it was
and
so
then did really
popular.
well in China.
yeah, the fact that it was so popular in China saved that movie. So there are obviously bigger markets for LEGO in particular. Europe and America, those are like really big markets there. The US is pretty big as far as building these brands, but like obviously Bionicle is not very big here.
Yep.
So that's a
No,
problem
which is a
because we are a
shame.
big market. We're a global market here. So you have to somehow make that a success. And it didn't work.
And that was kind of where I was going earlier when I was talking about Hero Factory and it doing really well in Russia. Because United States, the US is not LEGO's primary market. It's not their largest market
It's not, no.
at all. Russia, again, HF was super big in Russia. It did really well there, so we have heard. And
But
I figure...
I don't
if it
believe
did
that
well
Russia
in
is a
Russia-
major market, though.
I'm not sure. I'm
pretty sure it's one of the
know.
smaller ones.
Possibly. Totally possible. However, if it did well in Russia, and presuming it did well in other countries, might that have made up for it doing poorly in the United States? Because again,
Could've.
HF, regardless of our personal feelings on it, it did last 5 years. Half of Bionicle Gen 1's lifespan, and like 3 years longer than Gen 2.
did.
So something went right.
If I had to
Something
guess, it'd be more like, so construction was decreasing through G1, like it kept going down. So LEGO canceled Bionicle before irreparable damage was done, brought on a new theme, tried to kickstart it, and HF probably saw a surge of popularity at the start and then did that same trickle, kind of going down. And LEGO was probably like, well, it's not that it's selling terribly. Everything we've always heard is that HF sold what it needed to. That was the key phrase that's always been repeated. Which told me nothing great, but nothing terrible. It was just they sensed the pattern was repeating. So they then brought back Bionicle G2 to try to capitalize on nostalgia and also reignite fan interest with that branding. And evidently, they may have...
Did not work.
It may not have even been that Bionicle was selling abysmally. It just could have been the growth and the revitalization wasn't good enough, and they sensed that the cycle would repeat
Possibly.
again.
I
don't
I
know.
kind of predicted that the 2015 wave did pretty well,
Yep.
but not as well as they expected. And then when the Skull villains came around, like that nostalgia
Completely died,
hype
yeah.
was lost.
Everybody was
Yeah.
talking about that too. They were like, Bionicle, the Masters wave was the pinnacle. They'll never hit that again. Even when it came out, we were saying like it's just downhill from here. because they're not going to
That's true.
capitalize
Pretty-
on the nostalgia again. This is the top of the line. The white
Very
hot
true.
hype, the Toa are back. Great stuff. And then after that,
Yeah,
what was there?
It pretty much was, because like I remember, we found out about Bionicle coming back, and people I knew were like, "Oh yeah, Beth, did you hear about Bionicle coming back?" I'm like, "Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, I did indeed." And my friend looked at a toy store, which she doesn't work at anymore. She showed me some listings of the toys. I'm like, man, it is real.
Yep. That was the
Yeah,
hype.
they were never
and
able
then,
to
So
capitalize.
that was
Skull Villains.
It was
Skull
real.
Villains were nothing. You know, Uniters were lukewarm at best. We spent like months flip-flopping on whether they were good or not. Nowadays, I think most people like them. But
I think they're better than the 2015
Yeah.
wave. So
Yeah, I like them more than the 2015
back
sets.
then they were sketchy.
I think as sets they might be better, but I personally lean toward the
And the
2015
beasts
wave.
were just like polarizing on a
We don't
good
talk
day.
about them.
I kind of like them, but I know most do not. And there we go. The Masters were the pinnacle of hype, and it was just
Right.
downhill from there. And Lego
And with
may
the
have foreseen those
markets-
trends.
with the markets, we do actually have like an actual example of one line not doing well in one market but still being good enough in the others to continue is Chima, which we did not get the final wave of its construction here in the U.S., but it was still made and it was still put out in other places.
Still bitter about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, oh, come on. Don't Meso. It's like, you have every reason to be bitter about it, sure, but you had the two sets
I was
you
fortunate
wanted
enough to
anyway.
get both
Like,
sets I wished
I
for.
have Makuta.
But
I'm Makuta, you have those sets. We're
it was
happy now.
definitely emblematic of something going on behind the
Boy, I'm
scenes.
glad you guys are happy.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I'm glad too.
But yeah, that was
Yeah,
definitely
so-
an example of something along those lines where it just wasn't good enough in the U.S. I remember HF, its final wave, the second to last wave, was delayed a few months coming out in the U.S., but it came out in other countries beforehand. And like they waited like 2 months to release it in the U.S. I think March was when it came out. And nobody knew if it was because of the Lego movie or if it was because of some other sales thing behind the scenes. But Lego does do this from time to time. And like even now, the final Bionicle wave not getting released in certain countries. What was it? The Pacific? What region?
Yeah, Pacific region.
Yeah.
So like Asia, the Asias, and Australia.
The Asians.
Not getting the set. So for some reason, they were deemed not popular enough to even produce in that area of the country. I mean, the world. So.
Yeah.
Oh well.
But then again, it's not like they're coming to most places anyway, since
Yeah.
stock is not being made.
My stores never even stocked them because I don't have
Rip.
a Toys R Us.
Yeah,
What do you say, guys? You think that's enough for today?
that's enough.
Yeah, I figure like next week we should be happy and talk about BrickFeed.
I know. I was like,
some
I
more.
wanted to talk about BrickFeed. We had the BrickFeed crew on today, and I was
Yeah,
like, let's
that-
do that.
was
And
fun.
instead, we talked about
Yeah.
like,
We got
we
207.
went on the
I was
Bionicle thing again.
I was hoping we were gonna do that, but then like the night prior, Mess was like, "Hey, did you see that thing Christian Faber posted? We
Oh,
gotta
come on,
talk
we
about
talked about that for like 5 minutes. Come on.
To be fair, yeah, we
And
kind
then-
of just went
Yeah.
back on the thing. Well, I mean, like, going back to Brick Fair, it was a great experience. Really, really great.
You have no idea how liberating it was to not talk about this stuff. Well, I guess you guys do. The fans don't for like
yes,
a week.
yes, we know. We literally
It was so
know.
fun.
know.
I didn't think about Bionicle G2's failures like once, except to make jokes about them. Like, oh,
Yeah,
rip
all
Bionicle.
to make fun of it. That's about it.
And now we get back home and it's like this is
God.
really the reality laid out in front of us.
No. I think we're like we have a better perspective now on what we're gonna do, both as a channel
Yes,
and like.
we have gotten to the point where we have accepted what has happened. It is time to move on.
Yeah, as
and
much as this
hopefully everyone
podcast
can
episode
join
didn't
us.
really seem like it, we have accepted what's happened.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
not that salty about
So,
it. I got the Raid
we've
Zeppelin
got-
the other day. I'm back in the system. I'm getting.
Zeppelin.
Ninjago
Yeah.
set.
Oh yeah, no,
I
Like
got
it,
the
I wanna
Ghost
see it.
Rider bike and the Harley Quinn bike.
I got the NRG
Like,
Dragon the
yeah.
other day. Really good.
I got Makuta,
Yeah.
and that is
Brag about it.
No. I'm not like. I got Makuta, but you guys got cool sets. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like, fudge. I want an Ninjago set.
Oh, and while I have this
Instead I got a
opportunity,
statue.
I do want to thank everyone for probably 15,000 and upwards views on the Message to Bionicle fans excerpt from 206. I'm very happy
Yeah,
that message is
yeah,
being spread
yes.
around.
Oh, speaking of thank yous, let's see. Where were we at before Brick Fair? Like what? 29,000.
I think
We
so.
hit
Yeah.
30,000 at Brick Fair.
we got 30,000 at Brick Fair, so like we're
I
at like
believe so.
34,000 right now. 35.
Yep. We're
Yep,
very.
we are almost at 35,000,
It's insane.
which was Kahi. That was your highest prediction before Envy got
Right.
back
I was like,
2 years ago.
2 years ago that we were like at
was-
5,000. What? 7,000 maybe, and I said 35,000 is where we're going to be at before Envy gets back, and here we
and
are.
you,
Yeah,
you hit
so
the
it's
nail
all
on the head.
5,000 of you that have joined us in like this past week. Thank you for showing up. We hope you enjoy your
you.
stay because you won't be leaving ever.
Ever.
Okay. And you know
That
what?
was a Bionicle
Yay.
reference, everybody.
a couple other thanks, real quick. First of all, to the people that showed up
Definitely.
in
Yeah.
person
Oh,
to meet
well,
us.
let's do this again. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I've been bragging. I like to say brag. I don't like to say bragging.
Well, I
But
haven't.
let's be honest.
Yeah.
I've been bragging to people I know, saying I was there with my friends for an hour and a half signing autographs, and it's not because I want to make them feel bad. It's because I'm so giddy about it.
I can't believe
That makes me
yeah.
so happy.
That made me so
Now-
overjoyed.
And the other thing is to Corvin, Vezok's friend. I obviously I'm going to be ribbing him about the whole Makuta thing, and any of the people that were involved in its construction. Only because I'm a cynical punk who didn't actually design it. But this is honestly a really well built, well constructed model, and I'm really, 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 really grateful to have had the opportunity not only to build it, but to keep it and bring it home with me to review, and to have him say, yeah, that looks about right.
It was nice.
So thank you all,
really great.
all three of you, for putting in the time and effort to build it and to look it
Include
over
that
for
in
a
your
brief
review
moment.
too.
So, yeah, I will. Hopefully they watch it and don't go, ugh, this guy.
This guy, this Eljay guy.
This guy,
This guy.
obviously, the ungrateful little punk who keeps on saying it's bad.
Right.
No, it's good. It's good.
That's bad.
Obviously,
Still good.
I
good.
critique it because I love it so much.
Of course.
It's really cool.
Well,
Wrap us
what
up.
do you say, guys? That's pretty much all right.
Yeah, let's end.
Thank you very much for listening to episode 208 of the TTV Podcast. If you want to hear our fun Brick Fair stories and you haven't yet, go check out 207, the video podcast, which should be up at this point. It's a great show, much more positive than this one. And stay tuned next week as we fully embrace the post-Bionicle landscape. And remember, as a reminder, going forward, the BrickFeed podcast will be our news-based discussion show that will be free to listen to on Vessel, not behind early access. And the podcast, since it's not about news anymore, will be. But all our content is still for free on YouTube as well. But thank you very much for listening, and we will see you all next week. I'm Meso.
I'm Verderan.
I'm LJ.
I'm John.
And I'm Viper.
And bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.